Welcome to the Solemn Vanguard channel. Today I'm going over my Zorga deck, fully blinged out. I love my Zorga boy. Of course, right now, it isn't the strongest deck out there, but in my opinion, it is very, very fun to play. I would say in terms of like play style and having fun with Overdress, my favorite is Gravidia right now, and then second is definitely Zorga. So if you're into that Grand Blue-esque play style, if you like a bit of a toolbox in Overdress, this is definitely the deck for you. With that being said, if you still need any Vanguard cards or accessories, you can go to 50cards.shop and use the code Solemn for a discount. I think they already have pre-orders for Clan Collection splits, maybe other sleeves, maybe set 5 soon. I'm not entirely sure what they have, but they will probably have everything at one point. So yeah, use the code Solemn, 50cards.shop. Now, for the list. Obviously, there is nothing changing here. We have our Thick Boy, because he is beautiful. We have our Rancor Chain. We have Blacktear's Husk, and we have our Zorga. Honestly, the best part about Zorga is the ride line. We even see other decks right now using this ride line because of how good it is. It is actually the reason that our early game is really solid. Like, we're plussing hard because of him. And he kind of gets rid of the fact that we get all of these orders in our hand, and it like makes our hands weaker because we're automatically +1 just from him. Beyond that, we're also hand sculpting a lot. So even if you magically like miss an order, at least you're making sure that whatever else you have in your hand is going to be really good. But overall, that shouldn't be happening because you do run a shitload of orders. Next, I wanted to talk about the orders specifically because that is what this deck is about. And so if you see certain orders in here or others are missing, that way you can also see what my ideas were with the other units that I will be running. We have 3 of the best one. Like, honestly, this is the only way we have any aggression in this deck, so it's important to have it. Like, basically, almost every Alchemagic setup we do needs to have this thing in there. Then we have the best order in Stoicheia, Condensation. This is basically Monster Reborn, and it works early, and that's actually really important. To me, Zorga, the only thing that makes it good is that it has 2 power spikes. If you were to make a graph, let's say, of when Zorga actually is powerful, it's at the start, it's powerful, then in the mid, it starts sucking ass, and then in the very late, it gets good again. Because some decks do run out of steam once you get through their major kill turns. So it's because of our really good ride chain and this card that early can actually be pretty solid. Then again, after that, it becomes kind of ass because we don't have multi-attack, but then as people run out of resources and we are still basically playing the same game, we are back in action. Overall, most of our Alchemagic turns will have one of these 2 or both in there, and then we basically have a bunch of techs that also come up but aren't as crucial all the time. We have 2 of this boy, the new one, Little Zorga, let's call him. We have 1 of Nectar of Sensationalism, and then we have 1 of our extra drive check. So this is my lineup. I know there are a lot of other orders out there, so yes, absolutely, you could see Zorga decks with like, oh, I'm running this other thing, oh, I'm running this big tornado, oh, I'm running this and that. That's fine. I'm really enjoying this, but I'm of course open to other ideas. To me, the most important part is really like the left side here. And then everything else is kind of like a toolbox to me. Now for the non-orders, we have 3 Zorga, because Persona riding is of course broken. This deck actually can Persona ride pretty well, because you can basically revive this guy, and then you can use the grade 2 to add him to hand. So it's really hard to run out of them if you're desperate for them. However, often you will also use the grade 2 to just add PGs back or something like that. So you're not doing it every turn. Usually you can also just draw into your other copies, but it's still like good to have access to. Because to me, if in Overdress you're not Persona riding, you're probably not winning. Next, we have the card I have a love-hate relationship with, this dragon. So my love-hate relationship with this card is because I had no clue why it had to be a 5k. Like, his effect is solid, right? He comes back when you use an order, and if you Alchemagic, he not only gets power, but he also gets the crit. Whereas if you didn't Alchemagic, you have to choose between one of the 2. Like, the effect is good, but why is it a 5k? It's not like this card would have been broken if he was 13. Like, 13 plus 10 and 23, okay, we have a good number, but this is still a 3 attack deck that's clunky because of all the orders. So I feel like they over-nerfed this card, whereas everything else in set 4 got such insane support, and I'm like, why? Zorga was already like at the bottom of the ladder, and now they just kept it there. So it's a solid card, you know, it's better than a lot of the stuff we had before, but I'm just not quite sure why they had to nerf him to 5k. I guess he would be really good in the early game if he wasn't at 5k, but I think that's actually totally fair. So the reason I'm running 4 is because I felt the rush this deck can do is honestly the only reason to play it. Like, its late game, again, is pretty solid, like I said. Its mid game kinda sucks in my opinion, and by running 4 at him, you can actually make your aggro really solid. That way it kind of runs similar to the Gravidia list I used to top BRO. If I get him early, I can start discarding him to be able to ride, because of course you always need to discard one every turn for your ride deck, and then you can use your Spiritual Body Condensation to Soul Blast your Black Tears Husk or your Rancor Chain, then you revive those, and then this one revives himself at the same time, and you're basically making a free field out of nowhere, and you can start bashing their skulls in immediately. So for that reason, I like having the 4. Beyond that, there's a lot of decks out there right now that do wipe your board, so being able to get them back over and over again is really, really solid. But again, I'm not sure why he had to be a 5k. He could have honestly been 10 or 12 and it would have been completely fine. Next, we have Shadow Cloak, best boy, the only reason this deck exists. Basically, you call him early, you can basically look for any order you need, and then beyond that, he also is solid recursion. This card is the only reason, in my opinion, Zorga isn't unplayable. Basically, when we got this card last set, it was really, really important for us, and it's filling that exact same function right now. Next, a card that no one is running anymore, but I still love, the Shark. To me, I just can't let this guy go. I feel like as the game progresses and goes longer and longer, sure, others run out of steam a lot, but we kinda do too. And so I like randomly having access to this still. You know, our deck is running lower, we revive this with one of our billion revives, and then we can actually make this guy ridiculously huge with this guy right here. And again, because we're milling so much, we will definitely have access to it, and then give it a crit. So then he basically says, oh, you're gonna PG? Well, that's gonna be 3 cards, please. And basically in that long, weird grind game, this really does save my ass. It does cost a soul, so you need to kind of watch out, but it's not the worst either. Just be aware of it because we no longer have the Hendrina in deck. I just feel like we don't have the most impactful rearguards anymore, and so having access to this is nice. He does kind of conflict with the grade 3, so like if you're gonna be using him, you can't do the double grade 3, but it's really not the end of the world. I like the little Morfessa or Battledore skill, let's say, to still have access to that. Next, we have 4 Perfect Guard, because every deck needs Perfect Guards. 4 Rogue Headhunter. I assume most people don't need the explanation, but okay. It's a big ass booster that then also makes our Counterblast cost free if needed, at least when it comes to the orders. Again, this was a really, really big deal when it came out to help the deck together with our Shadow Cloak. Now for triggers, I'm kind of doing something a little bit different. I am playing 4 of the most beautiful crit ever. I love this crit so much, coolest art ever. I'm playing 1 of the little guy, and then I'm only playing 3 of this one. Now, I've actually considered even going down to 2 and then playing 2 of this. My reasoning for that is that I like to be ridiculously greedy and like call these down early so that I have boosters, again, filling my whole field, kind of like I did the Gravidia thing in my BRO top 8 profile. I might end up regretting that because yes, we do not have Hendrina, but so far, I don't know, I think I like it. If you're not that greedy, maybe you just want to play like this. That's totally fine, that's way more typical, but I might actually end up playing something like this so that I more often have like the 5k boost. Next, we have our 3 fronts. In my opinion, draws aren't that necessary. I understand why people run them in this deck if they're like, oh, I'm not gonna have my correct orders, oh, I don't have my pieces or whatever, but to me, we lack so much aggression because we don't have more than 3 attacks that we need to hit front sometimes, or at least a offensive trigger. Ideally, we could play crits over this, but alas, we have the 8 crit limit. Next, we have Best Boy, incredible over trigger. And then we have 4 of the most beautiful heals. Ah, I love this art once again. I would really, really like to play this in premium as well, but sadly it's a 15k and it's not a heal guardian. So at least glad I can use them in overdress because they are very, very pretty. So that was my Zorga overdress deck. I hope you found this interesting. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Again, if you need anything for your Vanguard goodies or cards, go to 50cards.shop and use the code Solemn. I will see you soon. Ciao.